turning off genes for detoxification, and we want to erase that blockage. Then you've got things that block your gene expression just because you're toxic. Your cells basically decide what genes are going to express, and some of these are luxury genes. Things like detoxification are a luxury when things are good, and so they decide to express genes like this when they decide that, say, the coast is clear. We'll talk a little bit about membranes, and I might jump around between a couple different presentations here, do a little bit of the stuff that I showed from Autism 1, and then we're just going to run through a list of the PuRxpressions products. So I said PuRxpressions is a direct-to-consumer line. So why are we doing a direct-to-consumer line? We've long enjoyed the support of our doctor practitioners, from MDs, DOs, naturopaths, chiropractors, massage therapists. We've had a lot of support from doctors, but we actually have a bigger support at a grassroots level than we have at a doctor's level. And we have patients calling us from all over the country, say from the middle of Nebraska, and it's not exactly like being in Santa Monica where you have your list of, a dozen holistic practitioners just on the block that you live that you can go to. Center of Nebraska, you don't have a lot of options. Center of Georgia, you don't have a lot of options. Texas, you don't have a lot of options, though Lee Cowden is in Texas. And do we all love Lee Cowden?
Yay!
Kelly Gallagher is here in the house. Kelly G says we love Lee Cowden. So we know Lee Cowden's there. We know Stuart Nunley's there. We know Steve Hines is there. Hi to Steve Hines if you're out there. But Texas is a big state. It's about the size of 5 or 10 countries put together. And there's just not a lot of options out there. And so now we have a direct-to-consumer brand that people can come to our website. In fact, let's see if I can switch over to the website and take a look at that. All right, let's hope the website will show up. And the website is PuRxpressions.com, which is rolling up upon us as we speak. So now we have our original Quicksilver Scientific line under its Quicksilver Scientific. Are you looking at me with technical issues? Oh my God, the camera's falling away. So now we have our Quicksilver Scientific line with its professional brand, Quicksilver Scientific, that you can get through your practitioners. And we have the PuRxpressions line, and there's the PuRxpressions website, PuRxpressions.com. Notice the clever little RX, like a prescription thing, instead of P-U-R-E. So at the PuRxpressions website, you will find the store. There you see the retail store. If we hit the store, and this will take you where you can buy all of these things. There's the vitamin C, glutathione, CoQ10. A number of the new products in PuRxpressions are not duplicated yet in Quicksilver Scientific, but may. And you'll see some of the Quicksilver Scientific products that we have available for retail. Now, on the other hand, if you're buying wholesale because you're a doctor, you go over to the Quicksilver Scientific site where you will find the wholesale store. By the end of this week, there'll be a complete division of the retail and the wholesale. Retail will all be under the PuRxpressions site, and wholesale will be all under the Quicksilver Scientific site. So, getting back to our story, there's our PuRxpressions logo, and there's the PuRxpressions line. There's the different bottles. Starting over on your left as you're looking at the screen, you'll see CoQ10. My favorite new product. Now, it's always hard to have a favorite new child in your new bundle of 6 children. Missing from that is my child that the authorities have taken away from me. Not because of abuse and neglect, but we did launch cannabidiol in a nanoparticle that was a hit at Autism 1, but last week the FDA says, no, CBD does not qualify as a dietary supplement. So we will not have that in our retail line. So, again, CoQ10, my favorite new product. Methyl B-Complex, we'll go through everything that's in that. This is a wonderful methylation formula that's got all of the activated Bs. It's very, very complete in its B vitamin retinue, and it's the only B complex I've ever seen with milk thistle. So why would I put milk thistle in your B complexes? And off in the distance, I hear the spritz of the B12 going down Robert Slovak's throat. I have got, oh, and there's a spritz going on over there. We've got a star lineup here in the house. In fact, you know, if my production team didn't yell at me, I'd probably start turning the camera around so that you can see everybody here. We've got Peter Gehrig, former head of ASICS Shoes, that's right, ASICS Shoes, who's now come to be our fairy godfather in corporate governance. We've got Robert Slovak, the guru of all water things, and with him is brother Jack Slovak. They own Water and Wellness and Original Ketone North America. They're in here for some work we're doing at a corporate level. We've got Kelly Gallagher just rolled into the house, and our newest addition to the team, Philip Armour. So if I turn this around, you'd see them all and be excited. But instead, we'll look at the products here. I got distracted halfway through. We only got the Methyl B-Complex. You see the vitamin C in the front. This is straight vitamin C, no lipoic acid. I call the vitamin C the balm of Gilead. Pour it upon any problem, and it always does you good. Now, those of you who are in the chronic disease part of the world, as in having some sort of chronic disease, some sort of chronic mold toxicity, will know that our vitamin C with R-lipoic is not always the easiest thing to take when you're up against a serious problem in your body. It stimulates a lot of detoxification. And we're going to get into why specifically things like mold toxins make it so hard to detoxify and make it so hard to take something like lipoic acid. But the vitamin C alone you can pour onto any person, into any person, over any wound, into any problem, and it will always do good. And Kelly goes, and all over your face. Now, the C lipoic you can do on your face as well. All the C's, in fact, everything that we have here can be done topically. Over then, next to the vitamin C, you'll see the glutathione and the DIM, not a dim bulb, bright bulb. In fact, I can shoot a bright bulb at you. Bright bulb, it is diindolylymethane, and it is probably the star character of the last several months in our retinue, and it is the one to take those of you who can't take lipoic acid to the point of being able to take lipoic acid. And we'll flip around through a couple of slides and see exactly why that is. So we're trying to make this a very user-friendly type of product line. And so even if you can't remember things like what was CoQ10 and diindolyl what, we have a benefit key on there. And the benefit key leads you through what these products do for you. So if it's got a lightning bolt on it, it supports healthy energy levels like CoQ10, the B-Complex, give you good energy mostly by supporting mitochondrial health. Under that, you got the guy running, that's healthy cardiovascular function. Don't put a heart on your label or you'll be arrested. But you can put a running guy. So cardiovascular function. The brain supports normal neurological functions. If there's an arm there, it's not supporting muscular function so much as it is supporting a strong immune function. You got the little guy with the check mark in his belly. How else are you going to do detoxification? That's what we came up with. So the check mark in the belly is a detox supplement. You've got the flame there with the slash through it, and that's for inflammatory response. Cut down runaway inflammatory issues. And actually some of the ones that are coming to the line in the next couple of months will be more of an inflammatory product. And then the last one, you got the interlock, the male and female. They seem to be getting together in some way there, and that's supporting healthy hormonal function. And so you'll see for now, DIM, people know DIM mostly for supporting estrogen pathways so that you don't make negative estrogens, but we're going to introduce you to a whole host of ways to use the diindolylymethane and out with a DHEA and possibly a pregnenolone to add to our hormone line. So let's just start with a known commodity, glutathione. There's the picture of glutathione. Here's the video picture of the glutathione. Oops, I went backward there. Okay, so glutathione, if you're familiar with Quicksilver Scientific et al., you know glutathione. Glutathione is sort of our secondary balm of Gilead. It doesn't, there are times when glutathione is a little too much. Glutathione support functions in the body. In most cardiovascular is LDL glutathione. Some of the interesting work that was done, let me get rid of that. Nope. Some of the initial work that was done on some liposomal glutathiones were looking at oxidation of LDL. Oxidized LDL is what leads to deposition of cholesterol into the arterial walls and then attraction of the foam cells to eat it up. So glutathione has a lot of cardiovascular help. Oh, there we go. There's our old glyph for the heart with the boom, boom through it. This must have been an old copy of our label stock because we're not allowed to put that heart on there. Are we, Philip? Brain power. Glutathione, there's a lot of great studies done on oxidative stress in the brain. When glutathione levels diminish, mitochondria is very easily damaged by oxidative stress in the brain. Too much thinking with low glutathione, give you a lot of brain fog. Immunity, that's one of the favorite things when I'm talking about glutathione. In fact, I may flip over here and grab a little slide from Autism 1 and see what we have for glutathione and immunity. Oh, there we go. Hopefully the screen is keeping up with this. Here we go. Endocrine disruptors that deplete glutathione levels in antigen-presenting cells promote Th2 polarization in mice. Th2 polarization. Let's look at that another way. This is up at the top left here. You will see a slide of interferon and normal interferon levels, interferon on a liquid diet, and then interferon on a liquid ethanol diet intended to deplete glutathione in these mice. And what do you see? You see your main antiviral go to nothing. Interferon is probably your most archetypal Th1 cytokine for raising innate immunity. Wonderful for killing viruses, intracellular bacteria, such as our good friend Borrelia. And so you see Th1 go down, and what goes up? IL-4. IL-4 is more of an allergic response. So think about depleting glutathione, keeping intracellular viruses, bacteria, keeping those all around, but rejecting your food. Exaggerated Th2 response is more of a food, at least when we look at chronic disease, you see a lot of rejection of food, food intolerance. Russ Jaffe likes to talk about that as, what does he call it, immunotoxic diets. And in fact, I quite often show this slide looking at toxicity leading to immune dysregulation, leading to lowered Th2 response, lowered Th1 response, raised Th2 response, leading to food allergies and chronic infection, creating more chronic inflammation, depressed detoxification. Eventually, you're getting such a leaky system, you've got a leaky GI tract, leading to lipopolysaccharides in circulation. They create a systemic inflammatory response, which creates vascular permeability, which of course creates blood-brain barrier permeability, leading to toxic response in the blood. Adequate glutathione levels are a way to reverse all of this. In fact, one of the most interesting things that we see when we put people on our detoxification system that raises all aspects of the glutathione system is that a lot of people who had Lyme disease but were not showing it because they lacked the immune sufficiency to mount the response against Borrelia. So they knew by symptoms they had it, but by doing an IGNX test, they show no immune response to Borrelia. So you put them on glutathione upregulation. After a month, they start being even more symptomatic. You send them back for another test, and you end up showing positive response to Lyme. And that is because it's changing this Th2 polarization, raising Th1 activity, and you get a more sufficient immune attack against the system there. So back to our PuRxpressions story. So glutathione we're using on cardiovascular levels, brain levels, immune levels, and of course for detoxification. Anybody who's ever heard me talk will talk about glutathione conjugation to toxins. We mostly talk about metals, but all of the chlorinated hydrocarbons are conjugated to glutathione. What would that be? That would be flame retardants. We have an epidemic of flame retardants acting as endocrine disruptors now. They hit onto your hormone receptors and create hormone dysregulation. We've got the old standbys like DDT and all of your PCBs, and all of those are synergistically toxic with all of the metals, and they're also hormone disruptors as well. So we know that and then, if you go into your list of pesticides and herbicides, take 1,000 of your favorite toxic chemicals out there, take about 300 of those, and those will be conjugated to glutathione and moved out of the system. Yes. Okay, so more FDA irritation here. Here's that heart symbol again. We promise you, if you're from the FDA and you're watching us, that will be gone by tomorrow. We'll placate you. Vitamin C. Who doesn't love vitamin C? I mean, vitamin C is like the cornerstone of all original vitamin stores. The health food stores, it was like ascorbic acid is where it all started. This is the one that I called the balm of Gilead. You can take lots and lots and lots and lots of this. I'm able to take a full bottle in 24 hours. It's 24 grams without reaching bowel tolerance, and I have a very low bowel tolerance for vitamin C, so you can take large amounts at a time. My favorite way to do this, I do 3 teaspoons at bed. That's a tablespoon of that. This is a wonderful thing. I mean, this was the Linus Pauling cardiovascular protocol centered around vitamin C. He also added in lysine, but vitamin C is really the core of that. And then you get into phospholipids that are helping rebuild the endothelia in the vascular system, and you've got a wonderful, wonderful one-stop cardiovascular product. You've got a wonderful immunity product. I always find my energy levels come up from vitamin C. What about you, Philip? Vitamin C for energy?
Vitamin C, glutathione, CoQ10.
Oh, well, he says everything for energy. But before we had CoQ10, he used to say vitamin C and glutathione in the afternoon, bring me up and strengthen me. So again, there's no lipoic acid in here. When we get to the story about diindolylymethane and epigenetic blockage of NRF2, then you'll understand why the lipoic acid, which is so phenomenal for upregulating NRF2, this is the master switch for detoxification, becomes irritating and even slightly toxic to people who have a high mold burden. Methyl B-Complex, this is one of the darlings of the new crew. You're going to see there's been a lot of people that want to private label this complex. Before we had a methyl B12 sublingual, which is very good, but now we have the B-complex. I guess I don't really need to show it to you since there's a picture of it there. But the methyl B-complex, we've got in 6 of these spray pumps, which would be 1 ml, we've got 12.5 milligrams of vitamin B1 as thiamine hydrochloride. We've got 7.5 milligrams of vitamin 2 as the activated form, riboflavin 5-phosphate. We've got 10 milligrams of B3 as a mixture, even amounts of niacin and niacinamide. This is so we don't get too much flushing. And the B3 level is not too high because we know that works sort of against methylation, but I like it in a well-balanced formula. And as we get farther into this, you'll see more of our methylation promoters. B5, this is a wonderful adrenal support This is as calcium pentothenate. You got 25 milligrams there. B6 as the activated form, peroxidyl 5-phosphate. B7 biotin, sometimes you won't see that there. Biotin is very interesting. It's a growth promoter, a growth factor in the cells. It's often thought about with hair and nails, but it is a growth promoter. Vitamin B9. So how are we going to do our B9? This is everybody's question these days. Everybody says, oh, well, you must have methylfolate in there at $27,000 a kilogram. Methylfolate is not stable at all in any water base. And in a liposome, as this is, we have a water base. So methylfolate half-life is measured in minutes, and so methylfolate will not be soluble in any water-based situation, even if it's a liposome. So what are you going to do? Methylfolate is not the only way to get methylation going. Now, you don't want to do folic acid, but there's folinic acid. So folinic acid is halfway down the activation trail between folic acid and methylfolate. In fact, folinic acid was the standby in all the great therapies in the sort of 90s and early 2000s. The whole PK protocol centered around the use of phosphatidylcholine, glutathione, and leucovorin. What was leucovorin? Leucovorin was calcium folinate. What we use is sodium folinate. And folinic acid is used a lot in the methylation world, and it's almost methylated. And what we do is we bring with that the activated B2, the activated B6, methyl donors from methylcobalamin. You see that the vitamin B12 is methylcobalamin. And betaine. What is betaine? Trimethylglycine. There's 3 methyl groups there. We have 100 milligrams of trimethylglycine. So the trimethylglycine coming together with the methylcobalamin, the activated B2, the activated B6, all together in the liposome will drive that system of methylation. Some of the negatives that people have seen by using just methylfolate, there's what they call methyl trapping, where you put so much methylfolate in that you actually negatively impact some of those wheels in those interlocking methylation cycles. And the sort of methylation cycle isn't allowed to move forward, and some of the secondary things that will happen in the conversion of homocysteine to methionine can get blocked up. So folinic acid is a real nice way to support methylation with all of these other B vitamins without without creating any blockages in the system. Now, milk thistle extract. Why milk thistle extract? The first time I put a formula like this together, and we did TMG, B12, folinic acid, and P5P. I gave it to some people, and a lot of people got a lot of energy from it right away, but a few people came to me and said, I think I got nauseous from that. And I said, nauseous? Now, why do you get nauseous? And as we thought about it, and as I worked with a couple of people doing some energy testing, looking at some acupuncture points, it was clear that the B vitamins are a massive cofactor source for liver reactions. And we were stimulating the liver meridians really, really strongly, and it was sort of dousing the gallbladder meridian. So liver processes go up, and the gallbladder can't keep up with it. And what we did was, well, one, we changed some ratios a little bit more B1, but we put the milk thistle extract in it, which is a cholagogue and helps move bile flow. And we found that that totally balanced and stabilized the energy of this formula so that you're able to turn up liver processes and gallbladder processes together. Now, those of you who are familiar with me doing the, talking about the Quicksilver line, Robert, can you see if there's a bottle of bitters over there? We'll know that coming soon to a theater near you is Dr. Shade's Bitters No. 9, which will be available through PuRxpressions website on a retail level. And this was designed to really bring up gallbladder bile flow But we wanted to be able to have enough of a balance of the liver gallbladder energy within the B-complex formula so that you didn't have to have the liposomal bitters. But to me, everybody has to have liposomal bitters. So the milk thistle was the way that we balanced all that out. Of course, this is in our liposomal delivery featuring the sunflower phospholipids. All right, CoQ10, again with the wrong heart glyph. CoQ10, what do we have with those glyphs? We have energy, heart health, and brain power. Now, CoQ10 is the quintessential mitochondrial supplement. There's nothing that is better at helping mitochondrial function than CoQ10, with the possible exception of PQQ. And don't put it past me to have a PQQ coming your way. But my favorite standard right now is CoQ10. CoQ10 is a mainstay of the cardiovascular world. In fact, we've tagged up with Peter Langevin, who is one of the original researchers in CoQ10 and cardiovascular function. He's got a great lab for measuring CoQ10 in just about everything, and we're starting to do a lot of testing on our CoQ10 with Dr. Langevin. In this system, 2 pumps of this will give you 20 milligrams of CoQ10, and don't underestimate the 20 milligram dosage. CoQ10 is very poorly absorbed at the GI level, and the sublingual absorption of CoQ10 is really, really high. And you just try this and you'll feel it immediately. There's a whole energy uptick in the body. Taken after food, you'll find stabilization of blood sugar. You find very, very clear brightness neurologically, and hopefully we'll figure out all the different places this CoQ10 is going. One of the other interesting things that we're doing, we're going to work with David Hasse, one of my new good friends, doing quantitative EEG. We'll put neural nets on people and give them different products and see how it shows up in the brain. Because just showing up in the serum is one thing, but one of the interesting things that was shown in a lot of the studies with CoQ10 was that high supplementation could get your blood CoQ10 levels up, but it wasn't able to get brain CoQ10 levels up. And if you get a bottle of this and take it, the first thing that you feel is a very, very strong brightening neurologically as your brain wakes up. So, you know, obviously we're not going to do brain punches and look at what's going on in your brain or your cerebrospinal fluid. So we'll try to estimate neurological function with quantitative EEG. So, onward to the next one. And you know what? I got to tell you that these supplement facts, Philip, you've given me completely the wrong label stock for these. Up there it says 1 ml, 2 pumps is 20 milligrams. Has nothing to do with the dosing of this product whatsoever. With this pump size, in the PuRxpressions pumps, 3 pumps is 15 milligrams. 6 pumps would be 1 milliliter, and that would be 30 milligrams of CoQ10. We played around for a while with different concentrations of CoQ10, and recently we've been able to get very high doses, and that's what we went with this. Unfortunately, the label stock that I used to make this was a rather older label stock. In fact, you'll never be able to read that, but that's what it says. There's 3 pumps for 15 milligrams. On the bottles, it's all the right labels. It's all the right label stock. So I apologize for that, and we'll put these up on the website. Are the labels on the product pages? Mm-hmm. So when you go to the website, you'll be able to pull up the labels for each one of these, and those are all the correct labels. So, diindolylymethane. Now, why diindolylymethane? Let's jump over to the Autism One talk and look at some of the slides on diindolylymethane. In fact, before we do that, to kind of get into that, I want to talk a little bit about something I talk about all the time, and that's NRF2 upregulation. In fact, maybe I can get a better slide down here. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about NRF2 upregulation. So I always talk about this. What is NRF2 upregulation? NRF2 upregulation, NRF2 is a protein that exists outside the nucleus. Here, the circle in the middle is the nucleus. And the NRF2 is what's called the nuclear transcription factor. Nuclear transcription factors are sometimes outside the nucleus, sometimes they're right on the nuclear membrane, and they encourage families of genes to be expressed all at once. We like to think about the nucleus as making decisions on its own, but the nucleus is really just a storehouse for all of the possibilities for your expression. And then certain things cause different possibilities to be expressed. So NRF2 is encouraging the expression of the chemoprotection genes. Chemoprotection being the same as detoxification genes. This is upregulation of glutathione, superoxide dismutase, glutathionase transferase, the transport proteins we always talk about. And certain substances will go in and tag the keep1 molecule, and it will cause these two sulfhydryl groups that are on either side of the keep1 to be oxidized and cross-link, and this will allow the Nerf ball, the NRF2, to go inside the nucleus. And when it does that, all the genes with the promoter region called the antioxidant response element will be transcribed, and that's all our good detox genes. Now, there's a lot of things that do that, epicatechin, epigallocatechin, polyphenolics, there's herataki, one of my favorites. We'll skip through that, and then there's a lot of sulfur compounds that do it. So it's not really allicin from garlic. They're allyl disulfides and a couple other kinds of disulfides in garlic oil. It's the stink of the garlic upregulates NRF2. Wasabi, allyl isothiocyanate, upregulates NRF2. Arusin and sulforaphane from crucifers also upregulate NRF2. And lipoic acid. Lipoic acid is my favorite, very controlled, very predictable NRF2 upregulator. And it's used for type 2 diabetes in Germany. It's prescription medicine. It's used for heavy metal toxicity because of its NRF2 upregulation. It's used for age-related decline in the antioxidant system because of its NRF2 upregulation. It's also, we like it because it's a twofer. You get detox and you also get mitochondrial upregulation. And mitochondrial system upregulation is always going to help us because we're going to have energy for detoxification. We're going to have energy for building new cells. We're going to have energy for doing all the things that we want to do. So we know that lipoic acid is very good for this process, and it's very helpful for us. And these are just papers that I usually show. This is age-related decline in NRF2 is reversible with lipoic acid. This is upregulation of NRF2 and increased metabolic rate because of the mitochondrial upregulation. So, what other things upregulate NRF2? Turns out ozone does. So why does ozone upregulate NRF2? And this thing that we think is an antioxidant called lipoic acid, why does that also upregulate NRF2? You know why? Because lipoic acid is not an antioxidant. In the test tube, it is an antioxidant, but in the body, it actually creates free radical cascades, which are what trigger the keep1 to go and cross-link and release the NRF2 in. The phytochemicals, like the ones from crucifers, create free radical cascades that cause this reaction to happen. In fact, why is sulforaphane stronger than EGCG or ellagic acid? Because it's more cytotoxic. It creates stronger free radical cascades. Wow, now that's a different way to look at all this stuff, and is the correct way to look at this stuff. So, does it work for everybody? No. And a lot of people who've tried these things who have chronic disease problems know very well that it doesn't work for everybody. Why? Because certain things block NRF2. Now let's go back and get the right papers here to look at. Bum, 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 bum. Mold toxins. A review of the evidence that ochre toxin, one of the worst mold toxin, is an NRF2 inhibitor. That's why mold toxins are so nasty, because they create a lot of free radical cascades, but they epigenetically block the expression of NRF2. What else does that? That's not what I want to go to. There's our next slide. Epigenetic, neoplastic changes. Development of cancerous cells, and it's been very well documented in prostate cancer, are shown to hypermethylate the promoter region for NRF2, meaning that you do not create NRF2. All right, so NRF2, what is NRF2 again? NRF2 is our stress response switch. We irritate the cell, and the cell bounces back by expressing the things to clear the irritant out of the system. In fact, you can upregulate NRF2 with a bunch of pharmaceuticals that are, I'm trying to think of the one, if Turf was here, he would know. It's a really strong barbiturate. They used to lay people out with it, who are psychotic, and you could also upregulate detoxification with it. They knew that you could upregulate glutathione system, but they didn't know what the trigger was. That was before NRF2 was defined. So NRF2 is a stress response. You can give people arsenic to upregulate NRF2. But the key is to give them something which doesn't poison the heck out of them to upregulate NRF2. And so that would be the polyphenols and the NRF2. But again, the polyphenols and lipoic acid. But if NRF2 does not work, then these things just become pro-oxidants and uncontrolled irritants to the body. That's why most people who have a problem with with taking lipoic acid have that problem, because it's creating free radical cascades and it is not eliciting the bounce back response of detoxification. So what turns that back? Diindolylymethane. So back to our product picture. Diindolylymethane. So, nanoparticle diindolylymethane. Diindolylymethane is known for having very poor absorption in the GI tract. We have it in a lipid nanoparticle. We're starting to release other kind of particles now that are not liposomes. These are more of a lipid core particle, and that's part of our golden particle delivery series. Eventually you'll see the real high-end hormones coming out in that same series. This is diindolylymethane, the first one that we're putting out there, and it's sort of similar to the CoQ10 particle. One day we'll sit around and we'll talk about all the different types of lipid particles out there. But the diindolylymethane has been really phenomenal for taking people that, you know, the ones you give them a couple of detox supplements, they feel good for 1 or 2 days, and then they crash. Or they just crash immediately, they don't feel good at all. That's from blocks. You start with diindolylymethane, I guarantee you your success rate will go way, way up. First person that we tried this on was a chronic Epstein-Barr, originally a professional athlete that was reduced to pretty much lying on the couch all day, hoping that the room didn't spin too bad. And we had started her off on the normal sort of detox stuff that we do. We started her off on antivirals. We really weren't making much ground. We get her better, she'd get worse, we get her better, she'd get worse. And then as soon as we started the diindolylymethane, 4 pumps twice a day, that's 20 milligrams twice a day, it was just like pivoting on a dime. Within a week, she was out working out again on her bike, starting to push the envelope again, as athletes are prone to do. But it was really stunning what it did there. And so then we started it on other people that we knew were mold patients. So Epstein-Barr, does Epstein-Barr have the same kind of epigenetic blockages that mold toxins do? Maybe. This is a new world. We're just, all these papers that I'm showing you just came out in the last couple of years, and we're just starting to see the extent of what Lyme disease does, what Epstein-Barr does to somebody in terms of their genetic expression, because we know that those chronic disease people have a really, really hard time getting better. Or maybe they were co-exposed to molds. I mean, it's so common to have somebody that's mold toxic and mercury toxic all at the same time, and and they're always very hard to detox. So what I'm telling you to do now is lead with the DIM. The DIM will open the doors for you. And since we released this, I've been at a lot of conferences. I went to Dietrich Klinghart's conference on inflammation and healing the brain, and at a Klinghart conference, you're going to get a lot of challenging patients. The most interesting exchange there was a guy who I said, "Oh, have you seen our glutathione?" And he said, "I can't even hold your glutathione or I'll have Herxheimer reactions." And I guaranteed him by the end of the conference he'd be taking not only glutathione but lipoic acid. And by leading with the DIM, we also moved into a little bit of GABA to calm down the reactivity of the system. Within 2 days, we had him on everything. And he was in quite a healing crisis from a previous treatment he had gotten, and we cleared him by the end of the conference. And you know, this is happening again and again at all the shows I go to with all the difficult cases. And DIM is really the hero. Any difficult case you have, try the DIM first.
There's a comment here about what your athlete might have had, potentially high 4-OH estrogen quinine adducts.
Quinone adducts of estrogen, and ask them to write in. So that's one of my other favorite stories is phase 1 to phase 2 mismatches. Here in this story, phase 1 is starting to metabolize different toxins, and estrogens are things that you need to metabolize. There's a certain cytochrome, I think it's 1B1, it might be 1A1, that creates quinones out of estrogens, and the quinones are highly toxic, and in the cancer stories, they abstract DNA base pairs, creating point mutations in the DNA leading to cancers. And to reverse that, you need to turn up phase 2 reaction. So as soon as you create a quinone can be conjugated with glutathione. So in my opinion, if that were the case, if these were estrogen quinones, giving her glutathione and lipoic acid would have increased the conjugation of those quinones to glutathione and cleared them more rapidly out of the system. Polyphenols help in that aspect too. This work was done by Eleanor Rogan and a wonderful old Italian gentleman's name. I do not remember his name. I butcher it unless it came back to me. But they, by turning up phase 2 processes, they were able to balance that out. She does have she is estrogen dominant, but again, turning up those processes should have fixed it. And I'll have to look into that literature again and see if the DIM does do that. But the glutathione and the lipoic acid did not succeed, and they were done. Geez, I mean, months and months and months of that. The DIM succeeded on a dime. So, and if they want to write in any other comment to that, bring it up later. Now we'll talk about pairings. How are we going to use these things? Liver. Here's a great pairing for the liver. The Methyl B-Complex, the glutathione, and the vitamin C. You know, whether this is a long-term liver cleanse or a weekend liver cleanse, just stopping yourself from the damage of a Friday or Saturday night. Where would that come from? Kelly says, what, me? This is the winner. I guarantee you will be invincible rock star with this. What's that?
Tequila in test tubes.
Tequila in test tubes. Not that it's been done here, but that is the antidote there. And it really is a nice way to gently clear mold toxins out of your liver. And in fact, I'll show you a mold toxin protocol. Actually, you need the DIM for the mold toxins. Circulatory. Nothing can be talked about in circulatory without talking about CoQ10. That is, well, I guess we could talk about vitamin C first, but CoQ10 is the dominant nutraceutical out there for circulatory. So here's a three-part pairing for circulatory. You've got CoQ10, you've got the Methyl B-Complex. Remember that poor methylation leads to high homocysteine, which is very corrosive to the arterial system. So the methylation complex will bring down homocysteine levels, no problem. CoQ10 methylation formula, vitamin C, that is a one-stop shop for circulatory health. How do you like that for a picture? Because like brain health, that's what I want my brain to look like when my brain's healthy. In fact, when my brain is healthy, that is what it looks like. Kind of shoots out like arrows out to the side. There's sort of stuff happening all over the place. And that's got glutathione, CoQ10, Methyl B-Complex. Wonderful brain pairing there. Jack Slovak is encouraging me to put vinpocetine in there. I'm sure that'll come next. But start with this. It's really good for clearing brain fog out of the system. When I talk about my own experience in brain, last year the two things that really changed my brain a lot were doing EDTA. So I did come from Bethlehem. I'd like to say it's the birthplace of Jesus, but it's actually the Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is the birthplace of Bethlehem steel. So I grew up with billowing clouds of smoke coming out of the coke works, is what they call it when they cook down the steel or the iron ore, and there would just be layers of metal all over the cars every morning. It was really good for you. I hate to say it, but people are a little distorted back where I came from. But EDTA, and we also chewed a lot of lead paint. It was a hobby there. Instead of chewing tobacco, I was allergic to tobacco, so I chewed lead paint. So EDTA and the anti-inflammatory that will come out through the Quicksilver line with curcumin, boswellia, green tea extract, and resveratrol, those two together really damped processes in the brain, because I also had a TBI that seemed to be catching up with me. So damping, I didn't have the Methyl B-Complex and the CoQ10 at the time, but damping inflammation in the brain is key to keeping a really high functioning brain so that you have those trippy spirals coming out of your brain. Mold exposure. I'm going to do a two-part mold exposure. First, reverse the blockage, then upregulate NRF2. So 1 to 2 weeks is really all you need to start this process. Some people it might take longer, but with all these people I did on the road, it was 1 day, 2 days. I would really fast forward. It was really amazing how fast the DIM worked. I remember one woman at Autism 1, if you're out there, it's good to say hello. Couple of shots of DIM, and her whole body changed. Everything changed within, right in front of my eyes. It took about 2 minutes, and she was different for 2 days. There was an irritation that was happening through the liver, and everything released. And she's from the East Coast in the Mold Belt, the real wet regions of the East Coast. So DIM, start with 2 pumps twice a day is a nice, easy way to start. You're going to get up to 4 or 5 pumps a day in the second step. So 2 pumps twice a day. Vitamin C. Remember the vitamin C without lipoic acid. The balm of Gilead, pour it on all wounds, all will be well. 1 teaspoon, 1 to 2 times a day. You really don't get any kind of negative reactions with this. And the B-Complex. Now I said 2 to 3 pumps twice a day. You can feel this one out. Maybe you want to try 1 pump twice a day, go up to 1 pump 3 times a day. But you should be able to get to 6 total pumps per day pretty quickly, especially if you're leading with the DIM. So 1 to 2 weeks like that to start reversing the blockage. Then we're going to go to the second level. Now you're going to bump up that dosage, get to your 4 or even 5 pumps of DIM twice a day. The vitamin C, now we're going to bring in glutathione and vitamin C lipoic. You can bring the vitamin C lipoic from the Quicksilver line. That's the one there. This is going to upregulate NRF2. This is going to start to mobilize mold toxins out. And when we do that, we also want a binder. Charcoal clay capsules, I don't have an example here. We use GI Detox from Biobotanical Research. We do have that in stock. If you need that, we can get that to you. So DIM, 4 to 5 pumps twice a day. The vitamin C without lipoic, optional, 1 to 2 teaspoons a day. Drink the whole bottle in a day. I don't care, as much as you want and can afford to take of that. B-Complex, we want you up to 3 pumps 2 to 3 times a day. We're really going to start turning up liver activity as we clear the mold toxins out of the liver. We're going to bring in glutathione now. Start low, adapt to it, maybe 1 pump twice a day, get to 2 pumps twice a day. We want you up to 4 pumps twice a day of the glutathione, and we want you up to 4 pumps twice a day of the vitamin C or lipoic acid. But again, with that, start low, establish your tolerance there. One thing to remember with tolerance of the sulfur that you're bringing in now is molybdenum. If you're getting GI effects, gassiness, if you're getting sort of a heavy detox thing, make sure you're taking at least 500 micrograms per day of molybdenum. Carlson makes a nice OTC molybdenum. All the, I'm sure Pure Encapsulations has one, but you can get that pretty easily, 500 to 1,000 micrograms a day of molybdenum if you think you have any sulfur processing issues. How do you know you have sulfur processing issues? If you have problems with garlic, onions, crucifers, you have sulfur processing issues. The molybdenum usually smooths that right out. It's not a big problem. Last thing to remember then, so the lipoic acid and the glutathione are going to turn up conjugation of mold toxins with glutathione, start moving them out. We want to bind them in the GI tract. Just like we use IMD for metals, we're going to use charcoal clay blend for mold toxins. Of the, say, 8 main mold toxin categories, 7 of them go on charcoal, 1 of them goes on clay. So a charcoal clay combination is really good. And you're going to start to move a lot of other biotoxins out there. If you have Lyme toxins in there, by chance you're going to move those out. You will move some metals out. If you want to add IMD into that mix, that will be excellent. But that's the general mold exposure protocol. Now, usually I talk forever, and I'll talk for 90 minutes, no problem at all. But we don't need to cover that much this time. We don't need to run this long. So let's open the floor for questions about this. And I have a lot of other slides I can pull up for illustrating if we want to talk about them. Remember, again, PuRxpressions.com is the retail website, direct to consumer. Quicksilver Scientific is the doctor website. And both lines, whatever is offered at those levels, will be represented in those respective stores.
And doctors can buy PuRxpressions wholesale. Yes,
doctors can buy PuRxpressions wholesale. We love these products. We want to bring them out to your peoples. Pour vitamin C on everybody. DIM on anybody you're confused about. Oh, and you know what I didn't talk about was, and I'll just verbally state this, you're rolling into doing bioidentical hormone replacement. Detoxify your hormone receptors first, diindolylymethane and glutathione. 4 pumps twice a day. Do 2 to 4, do a month of that before you go into your hormone replacement therapy, and you will do much better with hormones. If you want to start any of them first, make it progesterone. Progesterone actually is a cofactor. It triggers one of the other nuclear transcription factors called the pregnane X receptor, which helps enable detoxification. But get your hormone receptors clean before you get all the plasticizers off of there, before you go into your bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and you won't be one of those people whose levels bounce all over the place and you turn into a basket case instead of getting better from your hormone replacement therapy. So, Philip, do we have questions?
When using multiple mycelialized products, can you get too much of the phospholipids?
Great question. No. In the Quicksilver Scientific line, the phosphatidylcholine is one that is out now and available now, and this is where we're trying to get even more phospholipids into you. Phospholipid therapy was, That was a cornerstone of the PK protocols, Patty Kane's work. It was a cornerstone of a lot of German biomedical therapies where you're doing injections of phosphatidylcholine as well as taking oral phosphatidylcholine. This PC formula was based on the Essential formula or the lipostabile formula. We didn't use the deoxycholate that they use as the secondary surfactant. We used a different one, but we got it to the same particle size. Basically, rub this on your skin, you'll see it disappear right away. So we're always trying to get more phospholipids into you. You know, in fact, let me get a couple of pictures of my favorite membranes. Membranes I have known. It's important to know what a membrane is, and Jack, you can correct me if I'm using the wrong electronics, but I would call it a. Would you call it a capacitor? We're setting up a charge distribution or charge separation across a membrane, say a proton gradient. So you're driving motors that are making reactions happen or transporting things through membranes by creating a proton gradient where the protons are high on one side, low on the other side. A good membrane has a high electrical potential. So is it a capacitor then, Jack? Yes. It is a capacitor. Let's look at some membranes that we love. Where's all my pictures of membranes? Well, maybe this was not the final presentation that I used. I had pictures of the endoplasmic reticulum, and it is not in there. That is unfortunate, but that's okay. We will grab a couple pictures here of a good membrane. That bilayer membrane has to set up a charge separation across the membrane. You cannot have any damage to the membrane to do that. I think there's pictures of damaged here in the mitochondrial membrane. There's a nice picture of, it's a little hard to see the damaged membranes that they have here. So a mitochondrial membrane is housing the whole electron transport chain. So here we're running all these electrons through these different cytochromes, trying to harness their movement of electrons into ATP production instead of free radical production. On the left you see a high flow of ATP and a low flow of free radicals. And on the right, with the damaged membrane, you have a low supply of ATP and a high supply of free radicals. So when you have bad membranes, you cannot create the body electric, which is really, it is that electrical potential which is making all of the reactions happen in your cell. Now, I wish I had a picture of the endoplasmic reticulum, because we talk about mitochondrial cell membranes. We talk about the cell membrane. We talk about a nuclear membrane, but we don't talk about enough about the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is a big folded up membrane. It's like an accordion-shaped folded membrane around the nuclear envelope, and it's got the ribosomes on it. What do ribosomes do? They make all your proteins. So obviously you're going to have a good electrical machine to make that. And in hormones, we don't talk about this enough, but all of the hormone transformations, except for the movement from cholesterol to pregnenolone, every other one that moves the hormones into all of their different, either into the corticosteroids or into the sex hormones, those are all catalyzed across the membrane of the endoplasmic reticulum. So it is the charge separation across that membrane which is driving those reactions. I remember when I started doing PC therapy on myself, felt like I was taking testosterone because the dynamic of my energy went up very, very strongly. Now, the one thing we are going to bring more of in is phosphatidylserine. Tipping my hand here, I did figure out how to get phosphatidylserine into all these membranes, and we will start incorporating them. Phosphatidylserine is wonderful for brain health. It's wonderful for adrenal health. And in the sports world, it dims big swings in cortisol. When athletes work out, the reason that our triathlete got so sick is because they work out like maniacs. They go on triathlenes and their cortisol spikes. And when their cortisol spikes, it actually sinks their testosterone and it sinks their whole immune system. When cortisol goes up, the immune system goes down, the invader comes in. Phosphatidylserine has shown very, very good data at blunting that cortisol spike, keeping testosterone levels even, and keeping immune levels even. The first place that you are likely to see the phosphatidylserine is with the CoQ10. And let me tell you, PCPS CoQ10 is a wonderful combination. So, yeah, we want phospholipids. Next question.
So, two-part question relating to charcoal and clay. First of all, where can you get the charcoal and the clay? And isn't the charcoal going to suck up the IMD?
No. Simple answer. Okay, so IMD, big chunk. Charcoal, big chunk. They're not going to suck each other up. In fact, my favorite binder cocktail is charcoal, clay, or zeolite, IMD. Then I even put in, it's not cholestyramine, I'm sorry, chitosan, which is the natural equivalent of cholestyramine. Each one of those in the world of chemistry has its swath of that world of chemistry that it binds. All of them together bind the whole thing. Clay and charcoal, we use GI detox for biobotanical research. We've been making biocidin for biobotanical research in a liposome. There's a liposomal biocidin available now. Excellent product for Lyme, excellent product for autism. It's gentle but very broad spectrum as an antimicrobial. It's carried by them. We also have it in stock here. It's part of our GI pre-tox protocol, so we do have it here. We can get it to you. And it will not suck up the IMD. They work in tandem to get different kinds of things. IMD is specific for metals. The charcoal gets a wide swath of the rest of the chemical toxin world. Do not take charcoal with the liposomes. They will suck up the liposomes. Do not take them with your meals. They will suck up a lot of your vitamins. So take them on an empty stomach, at least at bedtime. I love to take this stuff before bedtime, let it go through there at night and suck everything up. If you're going to take it twice a day, take it on an empty stomach, either in between breakfast and lunch or between lunch and dinner. Or take it before breakfast, maybe 45 minutes before breakfast. Let it roll through there before you throw everything else in. That's how we do it with IMD. Question?
Is the CoQ10 ubiquinol or ubiquinone based?
Ubiquinone. Why do we do ubiquinol? We do ubiquinol, it's the reduced form, right? Most of it in the body is the reduced form, but the body reduces ubiquinone to ubiquinol very, very quickly. Just by virtue of being in the body, it will reduce to ubiquinone because of the redox state of the both the extracellular and intracellular state. The redox state is enough to reduce that automatically. But we like ubiquinol because it has higher absorption than ubiquinone. Ubiquinone has poor absorption, ubiquinol has better. But then when we wrap all this into this little lipid nanoparticle, all bets are off there. The ubiquinol will have the same kind of absorption, even better than taking oral ubiquinol. And once we have a really nice data set on that with Dr. Langshon, we'll share that with you. But that's why we do ubiquinone. And also, a lot, well, let's just leave it at that.
Do you have minimums for your wholesale of PuRx products to doctors?
Yes, just like all of our direct stuff, they're case minimums.
Can you also mention the protocol around the black box liver detox, pretty please?
The black box, pretty please! Whoever you are, my love goes out to you because I'm so excited about the black box. Let's see if we have a black box.
Elise Cabell.
Elise Cabell. Hello, Elise Cabell. Let's go to the web. Now, Okay, I don't have the slides on the black. Oh, I bet I have them up here. Let's just go in and find them. So the black box has been delayed because of special bottles that we were getting in. The B-complex cannot have any light at all. Ooh, black box webinar, there it is. The B-complex can't have any light at all. So we got specially painted black bottles like this, but they're black, and they're still in transit from other ends of the world, and they will not be here till, I'm sorry to say it, June 20th. So everything is made, and it'll be bottled as soon as it comes in, and we will send it out then. So what is the black box protocol? The black box protocol, so the black box we designed the black box protocol, to be easier than doing the detox cube. So the detox cube is aimed at really like a 5 to 6 month metal detoxification. It's a pretty intensive endeavor. You're in for the long haul with this one. But the detox, the black box is a 1 month liver clearance, liver rejuvenative, and brain rejuvenative. We've got the Quicksilver Scientific PuRPC, that's the phosphatidylcholine micelle. Very high absorption, high amounts of phosphatidylcholine. There's so much data on phosphatidylcholine regenerating fatty liver disease, reversing early stage cirrhosis, blocking against carbon tetrachloride poisoning, alcohol poisoning. Phosphatidylcholine's lineage there in restoring liver function is really phenomenal. So what else do we pair with that? Dr. Shade's Bitters number 9, which is somewhere around here. Here it is. And that's to have drainage at a gallbladder level. So you've got your main bitter herbs in there, gentian, dandelion, milk thistle. You've got the great kidney herbs, solidago and juniper, as well as the dandelion also being a kidney herb. And then blood cleansers, burdock and myrrh. A lot of people don't think about myrrh as a bitter tonic, but it is the #1 bitter tonic in the Ayurvedic system. It's very purifying. It's a beautiful compound. And orange oil, in Chinese medicine, the oils of the orange peel, that kind of bitterness is for clearing liver stagnation, really helping liver function move more smoothly. Then, of course, we've got the B-complex, and remember I said that the B-complex revs up liver reactions and then is balanced out by the milk thistle and super balanced out by the bitters. And then no liver protocol is complete without glutathione. So that's how that works. Micellized PC, 4-ounce bottle. You'll be doing 1 teaspoon doses of that. There's 2 of these bottles in there. The B-complex, there is 1, but this is the PuRxpressions one. The Quicksilver Professional brand is the bigger bottle. 2 bottles of bitters? Yeah, because, boy, bitters are fantastic. So you got to take it all the time. So there's 2 bottles of the bitters and 2 bottles of the glutathione in the black box. It comes with the protocol that leads you through how to do all this. 30-day protocol. I promise you, will want to use this on every single one of your patients. It'll put everybody in a better space. They'll be nicer.
Please comment on polyethylene glycol succinate 1000 and any potential toxicity.
Polyethylene glycol succinate. It's tocopherol polyethylene glycol succinate 1000. TPGS is used as a stabilizing agent and as a lipid, a membrane antioxidant in a number of our formulas. This was made to create a water-soluble vitamin E for children that lacked vitamin E transporters in their GI tract. And it was used up to, in the safety studies, used up to 6 grams a day, which is like 1,000 times more than you'll ever get from our products. It has an exceptional safety record. It is passed very quickly out of the body, and it provides a lot of stability in these very complex particles, and it also increases some of the aspects of our uptake and distribution and long circulation throughout the body. So it looks funny in its name, but it is one of the secrets to the phenomenal efficacy, and it has an awesome safety record.
So as a follow-up to your black box protocol, there's someone here that wants a little refresher on your pre-tox protocol.
That's getting a little bit deep. Pre-tox protocol is kind of a long one. Pre-tox protocol, well, let's see. We did the GI pre-tox protocol where we were doing artemisinin, clear white cofactors, and that GI detox, the charcoal and clay blend. So that was to knock back dysbiosis and some of the parasites in the GI tract. The clear white cofactors helps clear biofilms in the GI tract, and then the clay and charcoal is for absorbing all those toxins that are then released. So if GI is a hitch for you, the GI pre-tox protocol is the way to go. We will have other pre-tox protocols that utilize DIM, bitters, and vitamin C and B-complex, and those will be released real soon. Pre-tox protocols we used to do often revolved around kidney, liver, lymph, spagyric or homeopathic remedies that were used leading up to detoxification, but we'll put together one based on the bitters as a drainage remedy with a couple of the other things that help relieve blockages like the DIM, and things that aren't so challenging like the vitamin C and little bits of B vitamin to turn up your methylation.
And we do have a webinar on that topic, right?
We do. Do we? We do.
$4.99 on your website.
Oh yeah, the pre-tox webinar, you can always go. In fact, in about a month, we'll have Quicksilver Academy, all of our virtual products. That's all of our webinars, our videos. We're going to show we're going to release some of the great videos from the best talks that I've done over the last couple of years, including the ozone. American Academy of Ozone Therapy was fantastic. Autism one was a really fun talk. That one will be free. Ozone you'll have to pay a little bit for. All of our old webinars are on there, and people are like, why do you pay $4.99? Well, it costs us a lot of money to do these webinars. So we do have to recoup a little bit of money. So all of those old webinars are there available. Now they're on Quicksilver Scientific, but they will be on the Quicksilver Academy site, and that will all be virtual products and educational materials.
As a kicker, could you please talk about our liposomes and why they're so effective?
Because they're small and perfect. So we use a pharmaceutical model for making liposomes, where we're making very small unilamellar liposomes. Unilamellar means one layer. Large liposomes are multilamellar. Anything you get that's sort of a paste or anything that looks like milk will be somewhere between 200 and 600 nanometers. There'll be multiple layers of phospholipid there, and they have a very slow uptake. There's no oral uptake. They're very slow GI uptake. It may, in some of these cases, be just the presence of the phospholipids that is creating a higher uptake, and it's not actually the intact particles that are being taken up. In the pharmaceutical models, you go with a unilamellar liposome, one shell, 100 nanometers or less in pharmaceuticals, and that's where you get very fast uptake through the oral cavity, along even in the esophagus, in the stomach, in the upper GI tract, where intact particles are moving through between spaces, between the tight junctions to get a high uptake, and then you have long circulation. Large particles are filtered out of circulation by macrophages in the spleen and the liver. It's called the reticuloendothelial system. Their charge is to take particles out of the system. And as those particles get bigger, they're more easy to see by the reticuloendothelial system, and they pull them up fast. So the bigger it is, the faster they get pulled out, and they start slipping past that system when you get down towards that 100 nanometer and below level. And incidentally, some of the water holding capacity of some of our secondary surfactants in there help slip past the reticuloendothelial system as well. So it's those small, fast uptake liposomes. I guarantee you get B-complex, you take that, you hold that sublingual, you take CoQ10, you hold that sublingual, you will feel that, and you won't feel that with any other product. It is size dependent. It is the integrity of that single membrane product which gives it not only its fast chemical effect, but I think gives it its very cohesive energetic value as well. All the guys who do muscle testing swear by these liposomes. There's something that they're able to do as one single cell, one single membrane that the large liposomes are not able to do.
There's a follow-up question about the black box protocol and whether a patient who has had their gallbladder removed can follow this protocol.
Well, they certainly can. I can't speak to exactly how they're going to have to modulate the dosing there. People with gallbladders removed typically have a loose bowel structure because there's a lot of bile salts going there in there all the time. As you go through this procedure, through this protocol, you will have even more of bile flush. If you are getting more loose stools from that, you can use chitosan to bind the excess bile salts. Cholestyramine was used to bind bile salts. A lot of people think of cholestyramine and chitosan for binding fat and blocking fat absorption. That is not what it does. It binds bile salts, and then the bile salts are not able to emulsify the fats, and you do not absorb the fats. So if you want to slow down transit time when we're upregulating bile flow, you can use chitosan, a couple of capsules spread throughout the day, and maybe a little charcoal, but the chitosan is the more specific chemistry for that. But I think it'll be a great thing to do to clear out the bile tree. Bile tree is all the drainage network of bile ducts leading to the gallbladder, and that's all before the gallbladder. Anything else?
How do you feel about a webinar focused on hormone imbalances in relation to our products?
Oh my God. I feel very strongly about such a thing. But I might have to bring in some hormone specialists with that. So I'm going to tap my hormone friends and see what we can come up with. I mean, I definitely can speak to the estrogen-quinone story, a lot about the DIM, but I might bring in some other professionals, just like we're going to bring in Robert Slovak for a webinar soon, and talk about seawater, original ketone, and hydrogen, the new excitement on the global block of supplementation, molecular hydrogen. So, yeah, we'll do all those things. So with that, thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for taking a look at our new line, PuRxpressions. We want to have you here. We want you to try all of these things. We all feel really strongly about them and take a ton of them because we love them. So you do that too, and we'll talk to you next time on our webinar series. Thanks so much.
Please hit pause.
Pause. No, it's
Mute.
I'm just